and I know Tom has as well for a few years now. And man, I'll tell you, when you talk about someone who's had a dream and who's went through struggles and created a victory, this is a guy that you can learn from. And honestly, why bang your head against a wall when you can learn from someone who's banged their head against the wall and they've said, hey, I've realized that the door is 2 inches to the left. And then you could follow what they've done and just walk through the door with them. And today, Brian Hogbin, a friend of ours and a very, very successful entrepreneur, one of the most successful people I know in Ontario, an author as well. This book, Mission 35, which if you can get a copy of this book, I highly recommend reading it, because when you talk about learning from someone who has went through struggles but has created victories and has made people proud of who he has become, this is a book where instead of you banging your head against that wall, you can read a book like this and you could be able to take his life skills and then apply them into your life and then have success as well. So I am super excited to have Brian on here today. I'm excited to hear from him, and I know everyone will get a lot out of this. But before I bring Brian up here, I just want to pass it over to Tom, because Tom's going to do a little bit of the questions here, and I'm excited about the questions that we have to ask today. So, Tom, if you want to take it off.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. So, I met Brian a couple of years ago, and I was also very impressed with his positive attitude. And when you go into the office that he has, you see it in the people, in the writings on the wall, and it's just all over him and his organization. He's a great leader. I think that one of the things that we talked about yesterday was coaching and mentoring a little bit. And Brian, you had your dad as a mentor when you were young, talk to you about money. You got into the money business, but talk to you about money and your life, and tried to direct you. And as we spoke, led you down the path of to success, even though you resisted. But he supported you all along the way. And as a result, Mission 35, which is your mortgage lending business, the name came about as a result of your mission to do what you did by 35. And so tell us a little bit about your growing up and what Mission 35 stands for.
Thanks, Tom. I just got to say, first and foremost, you already made my day, Paul. And I wish I could carry you around with me and just remind myself, I feel better about myself right now than I ever have before from that introduction. That is awesome. So thank you. And
you deserve
it's been a pleasure to know you guys both for a while as well too. And Tom, thanks for having me here, guys. Mission 35 is kind of like my second child. I think about it sometimes. So, and it really got started with my dad, like you said. My dad was one of my biggest mentors growing up. My dad taught my brother and I about money when we were kids. I'll always remember him taking us to, when I got like $5 from a birthday, I remember counting all the $1 bills and thinking I had $1 million, and it was like 5 $1 bills. He would take me to the bank and put it in the bank account and teach me about interest, right? And it was really, my dad taught me from the core, those sort of fundamentals, spend less than what you make. Kind of like a time tested and true analogy, but then I still repeat that a lot to our clients and customers and everybody today. It's spend less than what you make. And my dad really taught me about saving and things like that. And that's where, Mission 35 kind of came from, because my dad was teaching me about savings, compound interest. My dad was all about guaranteed investment certificates and Canada savings bonds back in the day. So, and back then, Freedom 55 was kind of it was really big. So not that it isn't now, and I remember saying to my dad, I want to have Freedom 35. I want to do that 20 years sooner. Why do I have to wait till I'm 55? I want to have Freedom 35. And my dad really was my biggest fan. He was my biggest supporter, taught me about money and all those things to sort of say, by the time I was 35, I wanted to be financially secure. I wanted to have my mortgage paid off. And one of the biggest inspirations was seeing my dad be there for our family, right? My dad was always there to take us to hockey. He was always there to take us to basketball. He was always around. And one of the big reasons for me for, Mission 35 and that sort of Freedom 35 was, when I had a family, I want to make sure that I could do what my dad did. I never want to, like, I've got a little girl now. She's 3.5 years old. She'll probably come busting in here at some time and scream and yelling, right? So that might happen. But I wanted to be able to take her to every single dance recital. I wanted it to be a choice that if I'm going to miss something, I'm choosing to miss it. I'll never have to miss anything of Lila's, right? And that's where Mission 35 really comes from, and like instilling those financial values on financial security for other people as well too, right? Because it is possible for other people to have that. And that's where Mission 35 came from, is that we want to make sure that, as a company, we live those values, I live those values, and we want to share those values. And I was lucky enough as a kid to have a mentor like my dad teach me those things. And then also through books as well too, like learning through books. Like I've got hundreds of mentors, and I haven't met most of them personally. I've just, read their books and listened to their audios. And
I think you speak to that. You have a lifetime of learning from those people. They write a book, and it's not about that one day. It's about all the accumulated knowledge of their whole life. And there it is in a book, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of what Paul said. You made it perfectly. Like, I was laughing at myself when he said it's like banging your head against the wall, and you're like, oh, I got to move 2 inches to the left, and there's an open door right there, right? And that hits home to me, because how many times I've done that. And that's why one of the reasons why I wrote Mission 35 as well too. And it's really about me head banging my head against the wall so many different places. And maybe someone can find the doorway a lot quicker than what I did, because that's what books did for me. When I look at, Robert Kiyosaki, Cash Flow Quadrants, when I look at some of those books that I read back in the day that totally changed my mindset, right? Like totally changed my whole perspective on things, right? So I think, and I continue to read every single day. I think it's kind of a lifelong thing. You've never arrived and learned everything. That's kind of my mindset. I'm always like, I'm a sponge and a lifelong learner. And I think that's something that keeps me going as well too.
That helps you when you feed your mind with the positive, and if it's always coming in, it pushes those negative thoughts away, and it keeps you positive. And then also grow and learn. I know that I haven't always read personal development stuff, but the last 5 years on my journey, I've been reading a lot more, and I've read a ton of books in the last 5 years, and I know I've changed my mindset as well to a more positive one. And we're always growing every day, right? Learning and moving forward. So thank you.
Yeah, well, no, I agree. I think, one of the quotes I've heard that I live by, if you're not growing, you're dying.
That's great. Yeah.
And it's reality, right? Because I think growth is the spice of life. Like when you learn something new, and a lot of times, as we get older, we forget that, right? We think we know everything. I'm in my 40s now, and I still feel like I still like to take the attitude as a kid. And especially when my daughter says, why, Dad? Why? Why? Like, and when you take a curious approach to things, it allows your mind to grow, right? When you start to question things, right? And there's nothing wrong with questioning things.
I find that the more you read, what we put in, we put out. Doesn't matter what we look at it. And I mean, if we spend 10 hours a day watching TV, watching the news, on Facebook, I mean, we're going to get a lot of good information, but we're going to get a lot of garbage as well. It doesn't matter how good you are at trying to not bring it in. It's coming in subliminally. It's coming in. And I mean, I remember one of the lowest points in my life when I went from being an employee to becoming an entrepreneur. It was 6 months straight. I was listening to podcast audios, reading. I'd go to bed at night and I'd have an earbud in my ear with an audio book being read to me. And it was about 6 months of my life. It was like spitballs off a battleship. Nobody could say anything to me. It was just positive coming in. And that's 6 months of my life. And right now, people got time to do that, right?
Yeah,
they're just
true.
feeding themselves positive. Instead, they're feeding themselves negative. Take this time, just submerge yourself in positive, because after that 6 months, my life has changed forever. When enough negative comes in, I can quickly feel it and stop and be like, whoa, I got to change my thinking. I got to pivot here and put good in. And it leads me to a question I want to ask you. What do you do on a weekly or daily basis to stay as positive as you are? Because sometimes you don't even know that you're positive, because that's just who you are. And I know I watch you on your Facebook messages. I see you in action with your staff. in different spots where we've been together. What do you do? What are some of the things you may be able to share with people to help people stay positive and move forward?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I agree with a lot of things that you're saying there. One of my favorite quotes is from Jim Rohn, and he says, be vigilant with what you feed your mind, right? Like you got to guard it like the fortress that it is, right? And that's what I do. Like, it's funny. Like I told my staff just the other day, I'm probably one of the most negative SOBs around. That's why I have to work so hard to be positive. I know how easy it is for me to go down that rabbit hole into just doom and gloom and fear and negative and all that shit. Sorry, all that stuff, right? So every single day I do gratitudes. I have a journal and I write down 10 things that I'm grateful for, right? Like, and when you put yourself in that state of gratitude, right, it's hard not to feel good, right? Like some days I'm just not feeling great. I'll say I'm grateful for my legs. I'm grateful for my heart. I'm grateful for my lungs. I'm grateful I got arms, right? Like there is a gazillion things you can be grateful for, right? And another thing that whenever I find depression or whenever I find something eating away at me, I instantly try and focus on somebody else or something else, because depression, from what I've read and what I understand, and I'm not an expert on it, right? But depression comes from looking in, right? Because you're thinking about yourself. And whenever I'm starting just thinking selfishly, I can sort of go down a bad rabbit hole. As soon as I start thinking about others, it's really hard to be depressed. As soon as I start thinking about, what do people need today? What does Paul need today? How can I help Tom today? And having sort of more of like that servant mentality of how can I help people? I can't be depressed because I'm not thinking about myself, right? So I think morning routines are the biggest, because I'm not perfect by any means. And there's days when I don't do my morning routine, right? When I don't do my gratitude, when I don't do my exercise, right? So I do push-ups every morning, right? Right now, based on this course, I'm trying to exercise twice a day, right? Because my dad used to always tell me, he said, you have to exercise your body before you can exercise your mind. When your body exercised, you're willing to let new things in. Do you know what I mean? So new things actually will come in when you're sort of feeling fit and energetic and full of life. So every single day I'm doing gratitudes and just something. It doesn't have to be perfect. I tell our team and my friends and everybody all the time, it's about progress, not perfection, right? So is it better than yesterday? Great. Did you not do it today? Who cares? Like, don't beat yourself up. Like, progress is that stick you measure yourself with. Perfection is the stick you beat yourself with, right? So always just give yourself credit for progress all the time and try to do something every day. And it's like feeding your mind. I equate it to, I heard someone say it's like having a shower every day. You have a shower every day to clean your body. With all the crap that's going on in the world and stuff like that, you need something to clean your mind every day too. So whether that's reading, listening, YouTube, TED Talks, whatever it is, something. And I find that it's as little sometimes as 10 to 15 minutes a day, right? That 10 to 15 minutes a day compounded over time changes your state. Like you said, like you're able to handle things a lot better the more ammunition or tools in the toolbox you have in your mind. So
it's totally a mental battle, right? I mean, I just had someone recently, a friend of mine, I said, you got to read. You got to change your thinking. Like, the stuff you're putting in isn't good. You got to start reading. I can't read. I just can't comprehend it. And then her husband actually read a whole book in 2 weeks, loved it. She's seen that. And then she called me back.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there you go. Oh,
you guys there?
Yeah, you hesitated for a second. So she called you back.
Oh, I lost sound.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Okay,
Can
so
you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you, Paul.
All right. I can't hear you. But
okay, no problem.
Okay. We'll carry on. So I guess we'll take this opportunity, Brian. Let's talk a little bit about mortgages and where things are at right now, so people can get a little handle on that.
Oh, that's cool. You know what? And again, seeing a thing through rose-colored glasses. Like, I do like to see things positively, but the reality is in the mortgage industry right now, money is flowing. money is flowing freer right now than I would say it ever has well, not ever, but a long time. It's flowing very good. You can work remotely right now. We can do a mortgage from beginning to end without someone having to even leave their home. The appraiser doesn't come into your home anymore, and you can actually get a mortgage through a lawyer, through video conferencing as well too. So the good news is that money's available. Banks are lending it right now. If people need money, you can contact the bank for your mortgage deferral, which they're doing quite freely if you've been affected. However, if on the other side, the mortgage deferral is not enough, which we've seen for quite a few people, refinances are readily available. We've seen banks and lenders now accept EI, where people have been laid off because of this temporary crisis we're going through right now. They're accepting EI. They're accepting new things that they haven't in the past in order to help people get over this temporary time, right? So it's actually very nice to see, and I'm kind of excited to see how our industry is going to really be revolutionized in the next 2 to 3 months, because sometimes out of these certain situations, good things do arise.
Yeah, I think that something that I know I was on a call that you were speaking on yesterday, and something that hit me was that people are still selling their houses. There's deals that are in the works, and people have closings that are coming up, and they still have to find a place to live. So I understand that when people say, well, why would real estate be essential services? Well, because people are still moving forward, things are happening. People have sold their houses, and so they still need a place to live. They still need that ability to possibly get a mortgage, and great that the institutions are doing whatever they can, and not pulling politics into this. But I think with the help of government to get through and help basically people carry on their normal lives. And then there's people like you that have got that positive attitude to help us as well. So,
well, and you know what I think, and not to get on that political soapbox either, but I will say, hey, I think they're doing the best they can with the resources they have, right?
Yeah.
And you put me or you or someone else in that situation, I don't know what I'd be able to do either, but I think they're doing the best they can to help the most amount of people as quickly as possible. And I will say, it's amazing how many, for people who gripe about the government, they have processed an obscene amount of claims in a short period of time to get money flowing through EI for people. And that's great. Like that is
and from an IT perspective, when you have a system that's got a certain capacity built into it, and you double that capacity overnight, it's understandable, and you have to give them some time to adjust and pull that together. It's a massive undertaking. It's not just like turning on a computer and getting on a Facebook Live. It's huge. So
yeah.
And I think the most important point too is just to make sure everybody knows that this too shall pass. Like this too shall pass, just like every other crappy thing that's happened in life. This too shall pass, right? And we're going to be better for it, because I believe life happens for us, not to us, right? So, and luckily this isn't some airborne thing that could have been a major catastrophic thing. So now, policies, procedures, things that get into place because of this learning are going to make us so much better, so much more equipped for when something like this may happen again, unfortunately, but now we're going to have that opportunity to learn and grow from it. So.
A lot of people are able to work from home now. So that's, there's definitely lots of things that have come out of this thing.
Yeah.
And
something that I really believe that something good that's going to come of this is, I've been working from home now for years. And I go out for meetings and we run events and we speak and all that. But I really think that we live in the information age. We're in the mobile age today, and we've been there for a long time. And it's crazy the amount of people that I know that run huge organizations, and they're like, how do we do a webcast? How do we stay alive? And this has forced people to pivot and say, okay, this is the future. And it's almost like a great way to force everyone into a spot where we can reach the masses through platforms like this. We don't have to meet and congregate in one town in one country. We want to. It's very important if you can. But if you've got a message like your message, Brian, you've got a message of inspiration, dream, struggle, victory. I mean, the amount of success that you've created, there's people all around the world that they rather stick their head in the sand versus persevere. If they hear your story, that may take their head out of the sand and help them have success. And that's what life's all about. We're not here for doom and gloom. We're here, whether it's 10 years, 100 years, we're here to thrive. That's why we were born.
I love that. I love that. So, one thing I've repeated a lot lately is we are in winter. We're in winter right now. It's the season of winter, like through our industry, through many industries. But what always follows winter?
Spring.
You know what? And you can make a choice in winter. You can choose to freeze or you can choose to ski, right? So you know what?
Or go to Florida.
Yeah, or that too, right? So you know what? And I think it's for everybody to remember, spring is coming, right?
That's
is
right.
it going to be a week from now or a month from now or 2 months from now? I can't say, but spring is coming, and spring's a beautiful time. So let's be prepared for it, right?
Well, Brian, thank you so much. Thank you for taking your time out. I know that you're a busy guy, and and I mean, not just taking your time out today, but all the time you take out, whether it's the book that you sat down, you took time, you wrote it, and people should grab a hold of it and read it. And I'll tell you one thing, you'll be able to apply it and move forward in your life. And right now, I mean, we really need to stay positive. And I'm so thankful, Tom, for you thinking up this idea. I'm excited about it. I mean, we're going to be doing this again, and just hearing from people like Brian who are willing to go out there. And right now you're an essential service and you're still out there working, you're helping people. And like you said, most of what you could do, you could still do it from home. Right. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you for doing this platform. I think it's an amazing thing. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. And please feel free to comment if you've seen it. Any suggestions? We're looking for people that we can talk to. If you feel you've got a great attitude and you'd love to spread that with us, pop a message in the feed at the end of this, and we'll be glad to talk.
Oh, and like my kids say, when they send out their YouTube videos, push the like button and subscribe. I don't think you can on here. But
and actually, before I end, we did have a suggestion that we should talk to some kid entrepreneurs, and I know your kids are great entrepreneurs, Paul. They're and with a great attitude. So we're looking forward that we're going to bring some kids on, and I think we might have interspersed within our other talks some kid entrepreneurs on. It'll be really great to have that coming later. So stay tuned. Thanks everyone.
All right, bye guys. Enjoy the day.
Bye.